And welcome back. We're having a look at the MVTF Panther, and now we get to dive inside and see what a factory fresh Panther would have looked like. So when you come into the commander's position, firstly, of course, he's got a cupola. It's up to 10 centimeters thick and has 7 periscopes that he can look out of. Out the front periscope is actually it's effectively a vane sight. It's a front post rear notch, and you can use this to help guide the gunner onto target. In terms of space, I have been a lot happier. I'm cramped on the right by the recoil guard for the 75. And on the left, this little attachment here was annoying the heck out of me until I figured out how I can move it forward. If memory serves, this was used for a periscope. I mean, we're talking submarine type periscope, a big, long, thin thing that could be used for observation while the vehicle was completely turret down. Forward of that is the control for the hatch. Now we'll come back to that in a second. As an example of, I'm going to say, unnecessary engineering, is an azimuth ring around the outside of the cupola. Now what this does, it is connected to the turret ring by use of this rod system here. It's a system of gears that no matter which way the turret is facing, 12 o'clock is always at 12 o'clock on the vehicle. Now it's offset a little bit. The actual reading point is directly above the linkage. So with the turret now currently pretty much direct forward, I look at it to my right and the number 12 is directly on top of the linkage. But as the turret would spin around, the cogs would keep the azimuth indicator static, so I could see by looking at the azimuth indicator where my turret is compared to the hull. Now my immediate thought is twofold. Firstly, if the vehicle is moving, you don't need this. You can just look at the movement of the terrain and you can tell pretty quickly which way your turret is facing. The other is that you have a great view of the hull from up here. So I can see hull components around the inside. So by just looking down, I have a pretty fair idea which way the tank is facing anyway. So a little bit over complex. Indeed, for part of the production run, Panthers removed this linkage system. It was eventually put back a little bit later, as I recall, for the infrared system. I could be slightly wrong on that. All right, the hatch controls. This is a fun hatch to operate. First thing you want to do, let's say it's in the open position right now, it is lowered into a rest, which stops the hatch from swinging around and decapitating you, which would probably be a bad thing to happen. Very disturbing for the gunner and loader. You first crank the hatch up off of the rest. You can rotate the hatch forward. This brings you to the open protected position. So you can actually look around relatively safe from overhead attack, from snipers, from artillery. Get much better than the periscopes, and I'm actually at a bit of a loss to think of any other World War II tanks really that would do this. Once you have it closed, you then lower the hatch into position. Hatch is now secure. Now, here is why I fully believe that only in the most extreme emergencies would a German crewman close the hatch all the way, because frankly I think open protected would be pretty good. I'm going to start what I will call the "oh bugger, the tank is on fire" test. And you will have seen how long it took me to simply open up the hatch on a T-34 or even squeeze through the hatch on a Comet. So imagine, if you would, you just had that significant emotional event of a shell penetrating your tank and a fire has now started. Okay, it's lovely, toasty and warm, you're on the Russian front, a little bit of flame is good, but you decide, let's get out. So, oh my God, the tank is on fire. Crank up the hatch to open protected. Come right, get the periscope out of the way, and well, you probably wouldn't bother with lowering it, but then you got to get out. This takes a while. Now, the other way out of this turret is through that loader's hatch in the rear, which you saw was really thick and heavy. Now, of course, the loader is probably well motivated to get the thing open. Once he squeezes out, the gunner and the commander are now fighting each other to get under the gun, or if the gun is elevated over, whatever way they can get around, and then get out the same hatch. Privilege of rank, maybe the commander gets out first. I'm not sure which is faster, for him, the commander to get out this way and the gunner to get out through the loader's hatch. Suffice to say, I would call this a design flaw. I'm not sure it is worth closing the hatch ever. But as I said, the open protected is good enough. I mean, in Iraq, I almost never closed my hatch, even under fire. Only in the most significant threat did I even go to open protected. I strongly suspect that the German tank commanders had a similar philosophy. Keep your head out, see the enemy, don't close your hatch. Outside of that, the last thing I will say is the man's leg room is reasonable. He's got 2 footrests. He's got one directly underneath him. He brings his knees inwards, and he also has one to the right of the gunner. So although his upper body is very cramped, his feet are kind of okay. The catch, I'm looking at it, is that if he has his right leg on the side footstep next to the gunner, he is going to interfere with the gunner's elevation, which is probably a bad thing. Anyway, so that's it for the commander's seat. Forward to the gunner. So I move forward to the gunner's position, and I've been in worse. I mean, the handles are certainly big and are in his face, but not literally. The commander's leg could go here to his right, so as long as he's cranking without the commander's leg in the way, he's okay. And it's got a fair bit of space between the seat back and his own back, especially when, of course, he's leaning forward into the side. Now, earliest Panthers were built with a TZF-12 binocular sight, and they'll be identifiable by the twin holes in the mantlet. You'll see it on early Tigers as well. This was a fixed by 2.5 sight, so not exactly a high level of magnification. Eventually, this was replaced by selectable TZF-12A. This was either a by 2.5 or a by 5. Some Panthers, like this one, were built with a 2-hole mantlet and a monocular sight. Basically, they were just building off what the production line had already built in terms of stock for mantlets. Panthers like this had a metal weld or metal plug in the place of the second hole. It was just too much of a liability. The sight itself in low magnification, and the selector is here for low mag to high mag. If you look through it, the field of vision is, I would call, narrow. You pretty much need to be aiming at the target in order to see it. And heaven help you, when you go to high magnification. Now, high magnification is purely for servicing the target. He has no other way of seeing outside. So if I was on, let's say, a Sherman, there'd be a unity sight and a secondary periscope, which you could use in a hold down position. You can't use this sight in a hold down in a turret down position, forgive me. But you can use some other, the Russian vehicles also had a roof sight to give the gunner a little bit more observation, lower magnification. This gunner is absolutely reliant upon his commander putting him onto target. Okay, I think I've beaten that one to a pulp. Now, the other controls. Power traverse is conducted by means of a foot rocker pedal. So depending on which way you rock it, the power traverse will go left or right. The pedal to the left of the rockers is the coax trigger. It's a simple cable. The main gun is fired by use of a trigger on the elevation control handle. Initially, it was a fixed power traverse system. To do a full 360-degree turn took 60 seconds. Not ideal. Eventually, actually fairly soon in production, it was changed out with the to a variable speed power traverse, and was dependent on the speed of the motor. So a full circle would be 15 seconds with the engine in high revs. It actually slowed down a little bit, I think, to 18 seconds once you put the speed governor on it, limiting it to 2500 RPM. That was the coarse lay. Fine lay was still done by use of the manual traverse, and I have to say it's a very, very light traverse, very well balanced turret. Elevation is on the gunner's left hand. So you can see these pipes are going everywhere in front of them. It's a little bit stiff on this particular vehicle, I suspect just because it hasn't been used in gunners that long. The sight itself is selectable by range. So there's a little pointer at the top and you dial in the range by use of the knob on the left here. That will raise the reticle up or down. And if you want to have a look at range estimation using the German site, go ahead and look it up. It's all to do with mils and triangles. The sight is graduated in 100-meter increments up to 2,000 meters with the Panther 4042, 3,000 for the 3940, and as memory serves, 4,000 for HE. Now, gunner's toy, of course, is the KWK 42 7.5 centimeter cannon. It is noted that it's actually much higher up compared to the gunner. Usually your breech for a gun is somewhere around here, it's level, but the breech in this case is way up here. The gun is mounted much higher, or the gunner is mounted much lower compared to a lot of other tanks. Also, as a point of trivia, the gun is mounted 6 centimeters off center on the turret because the turret itself is mounted a little bit off center on the hull. I'm sure model makers probably get annoyed to heck by that. Ammunition, 2 types of AP rounds. Your standard AP was a 3942. This is rated at penetrating 111 millimeters of armor at 1 kilometer, sloped at 30 degrees. The super ammo was the tungsten cord 4042, and that was rated at 149 millimeters under the same conditions. Interestingly, the Germans were actually kind of pessimistic about gun performance. We're all familiar with the 7.5 being one of the wonder weapons, shall we say, in terms of armor performance. In actuality, the Germans only estimated that this gun will crunch through a Sherman's front hull at 100 yards. Now, in the German defense, firstly, they assume that the hull is angled at 30 degrees, so it's not a direct slope. But on the other hand, it is an indicator as to just how tough it can be to score kills. On the third hand, of course, what the paper says and what reality says are two different things. It's always a lot easier to knock out tanks than perhaps the engineers said it should be, on both sides. Now, if you're curious, the German documents rated that they would punch through the front hull of a Churchill at 1,700 meters and a T-34's front hull at 300 meters. Of note, this gun is equipped with a bore evacuator. Now, not the traditional bulge that you see on most modern tanks, so that might throw you a little bit, but it is the compressed air system similar to that which you would find on modern French vehicles. The pipe for which comes all the way down from the front, comes alongside the traverse system and disappears into a compartment next to the shell casing collector. Alright, we're about done in here. Final points to note. He does have an azimuth indicator to his left side, just in case he also doesn't know which way he's facing compared to the hull, although it does seem to be in need of a bit of recalibration right now. And finally, the turret ring could be sealed by use of an inflatable pump for deep water fording. Of course, once this seal was inflated, you couldn't traverse the turret. So I'm now going to extricate myself from this gunner's position and move over to the loader side. I have to say, one advantage now that I'm down here looking at the higher gun position is it's much easier, as long as the gun is level, for the gunner to get from one side of the tank to the other. So maybe getting out isn't as much of a chore as I thought it would be from the TC side. Still, I suspect it's less than ideal. Oh my god, the tank is on fire! Oh. What the hell did those pulleys do? Something fell which should not have fallen. Pause. It's a recoil system. Good lord.